You can't mark a date and believe that that day you can turn it on. It's not about the date. It's about the commitment to yourself. It's about dating your purpose. It's about marrying yourself to your goals. It's about realizing that there is no one coming to save you but you. You have to be willing to put in the work. You must be willing to walk into success. You must be able to run past doubt. You must be able to go through the barbed wire of self-doubt and deprecating words that you have placed over yourself and tried to play it off like it was a joke, when in reality, you truly believe that you don't deserve things. It's time now for you to speak life over yourself.
Losing. Most of you hear losing and it makes you cringe, it makes you afraid, you fear being embarrassed, you fear being judged, you fear looking like an idiot in front of a bunch of people that won't matter to you in 5 years. But here's the thing, being willing to fail, being willing to lose, will create such a competitive advantage for you because most people can't do it. Most people can't be seen falling on their face. So our options are to stay the same or to actually be willing to fail.
This is your time. You have greatness in you, and everything that happens to you, I've come to know. Some things happen to you, some things happen for you.
And that is what I do. And that is what you can do too. If you have something to change, if you want to change something, change it. Change it now.
So Dennis, you're a dad. I'm sorry, first of all, say your last name again because I don't know how to say it.
Yes, my last name is DeYampert.
DeYampert. Okay, where's the Wayne come from?
The Wayne. So funny. My dad's middle name is Wayne, and actually my full name is Dennis Wayne Alonzo William DeYampert.
What the hell?
Basically, I know. Basically, my mom named me after everybody that was in the hospital room at the time. So I got lucky.
Oh my gosh. But I like that though. So, wow.
Yeah. If ever I need an alias, I got choices.
That's hilarious. So, Dennis, you're a dad, you're a husband, and you're also an NPC competitor. What division are you in again?
Yep. I compete in open, lightweight, and bodybuilding. So, and that,
got it.
For people who may not be familiar with just like standard bodybuilding, my weight on stage has to be 154 pounds or lower.
Okay. Yeah, cool. Thank you for explaining that. So my first question is I'm interested in getting to know like the history of how you got started into fitness.
Yeah. So actually I was kind of thinking about this a little bit earlier, just with some other stuff that was going on. I originally was I was kind of like a chunkier kid. I mean, I was slightly athletic, but never gifted at anything, as far as like athletics goes. And actually, when I met Ariel, we met in college, way back in the day. After we were done with college, we decided to move back to where she's from, is in Rockford. And what actually got me started into fitness was her deciding that she wanted to also get healthy. So and the main thing that I saw her making so much progress. I didn't want to get left behind. I was like, she's starting to look better than me. I might be disposable at some point. So kind of was like, all right, well, let me get in the gym with her. Let me try to learn from her, some of the other people that are around. And weirdly enough, I actually liked it. So I'm glad that it stuck around.
Wow, interesting. And how long ago was this?
That was about 2012. Yeah, 2012. So yeah, about 11 years ago.
Okay, so right around similar time as myself when I got started too.
Yeah.
So then from 11 years ago, when did you start competing?
So our first show, and it's kind of it's a funny story. We weren't familiar with anything bodybuilding related, even as we were trying to get healthy and working out in the gym. It just wasn't
Mhm.
as popular and as very niche at that point in time. I'm sure you're aware of that too.
Yeah.
So what we what we did is the gym that we were going to at the time, the guy who owns it was a bodybuilder, and he had asked us, he was like, would you guys ever be interested in competing at all? And we were like, not sure, but we're willing to at least, maybe that's the next step in our fitness journey at the time, because that was very early on. So
Mhm.
he suggested that we go to a bodybuilding show just to check it out, just to see what it's like. And we went there, believe it, I can't remember exactly what show, but I believe it was the weekend of my birthday. So it was in October. It was a fall show. So it wasn't a huge show, but we went, we experienced it. And on the ride home, I actually remember Ariel looking at me and being like, so do you think this is something that we could actually do? Like, do you think we would, do you think we could be good at this? And I was like, I don't know, but I'm willing to try it if you are. And that was kind of what started us is um, we kind of both wanted to push each other to really be better. And seeing something like that, where it's something that we would never think of, that we would never think we'd be capable of doing something like that. But then to go
Mhm.
through it together at the very beginning of our bodybuilding journey was something that was really special. And I think that's why it stuck around for so long for both of us, is because we got to experience um, those, our feet getting wet together.
Wow, I did not know that. That's so interesting. So, did you say the time or the year that this your first show, or did I miss that, or did you mention that
Oh
at
no, I
all?
didn't. No, I didn't actually say it, but we attended that first show in 2013, I believe, 2014-ish, and then our first show was
Wow.
in November 2014.
Oh, wow, awesome.
Yeah.
So, like, have you guys since then you guys have been competing? Do you guys typically compete are you guys like prepping at the same time, or how does that work?
So there's two time frames, I guess, with that question. There's post Gabby and pre Gabby. So for
Yeah.
people who may not know, we have a 2.5-year-old daughter. Her name obviously is Gabby. Pre Gabby, we enjoyed competing together. It's just nicer to have your significant other, or whoever the other people or person that you live with, being on the same page. So that was always really nice doing it together.
Mhm.
Post Gabby, we have come to an agreement that one person competes per season, or one person competes at a time, because the other person definitely has to pick up most of the slack as far as like raising a toddler goes. And
Mhm.
then in general, like you normally, when you kind of been battling a toddler all day, you really don't have a ton more energy. So you couple that with being low food, probably poor sleep, and high activity, it can make for a very stressful person. So we decided that one person competes at a time.
Yeah, that does make sense. And that was actually my next question. So you went ahead and answered that for me. Um, do you find, I guess I'm sure having a 2-year-old makes it much more difficult than beforehand. What do you think is like the most difficult part about prepping and doing a show and stuff like that with a child?
I think the most challenging part of it is prioritizing communication, like constant intentional communication with your significant other, assuming that you have some help in the household with the toddler. That was what made her first prep post Gabby and my most recent prep the most successful. We we have really special communication, Ariel and I, which is a blessing, because I'm sure there's couples who um, potentially just struggle with even having a meaningful conversation, let alone like figuring out logistical details regarding a toddler.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
that's been the most that would be the most challenging part, and I would say the most important part.
Yeah, I can definitely see that because, like you said, I mean, communication is difficult even for normal, regular couples. So I can imagine being in a prep, it like needs to be even more prioritized.
Yeah, you well, at least what we noticed, we figured out there's very important pieces of information that need to be communicated in a timely manner. And then a lot of the, I'll call it fluff stuff. When someone's in prep, they don't necessarily have all the mental capacity to handle a lot of the fluff stuff. So that's where the other person has to be very mindful and very cognizant that, hey, like I'm not just gonna come to them with things that I'm like just random thoughts that I'm thinking about. But
Mhm.
there are certain things where it's like, hey, this was really important to me, and I wanted to share this with you because, ABC. And that's something we actually had to have that conversation a few times because our communication wasn't great at certain periods of time during each prep post Gabby.
Mhm.
And we hit a point where we have to stop and we have to have that conversation and be like, okay, this is where I'm at with this. These are the things that I need to know. These are the things that I really I'm just not going to be able to be involved in. Like just very upfront, and it takes the really. I think a lot of it is the other person when the person who's not in prep. You have to have a very high level of patience and understanding, and really truly unconditional love for that person because like you see them choosing to kind of suffer, but you're also picking up a lot of the extra work around, say, around the house or just with different things that might be going on, whatever the season might be. So, like, understanding that I'm doing, like, I love this person so much that I want to make sure that they have everything that they need and life is as easy as possible for them as they work towards this goal. I think that's something that's super important for couples as well.
Yeah, for sure. And that was actually another point that I was going to ask you, or a question is, first of all, like how many shows have you done, you personally, after post Gabby?
I've only done one show, which was just this past season. It was this past
Okay.
December 2022.
Okay.
That was, and actually, I didn't think I was going to compete again after my 2017 season. I had a really good experience. I placed well, and I, in my mind, was like, oh, this is just a season. Like, I'm just not going to do that anymore. I'm not really going to think about bodybuilding or be interested in it. And then when Ariel decided to compete again, I was like, okay, well, it's nice when the other person, like when you're just interested in what your significant other is doing. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe I'll look into bodybuilding and try to follow a few more of the athletes and stuff and what's going on. And then as she continued to compete, I realized that like I really do love this. Like it's not something that takes away from my life. It's something that really adds to who I am as a human being, as a man, as a father, as a friend to people. Like it's something. It's not something where it's a burden.
Yeah, that's awesome because that was something that I was thinking about too, is like how this time around, the fact that you didn't do the prep together with Ariel, like how different was that specifically for you?
That's a good question, and that's actually the first prep that I have been in prep where she was not competing at all. This past one was the first time that we actually experienced that, and I
Yeah.
got to give a shout out to her because she she took on everything with Gabby. She got her to all of her activities where she needed to be. She made sure she was fed, clothed, and loved nonstop. And she even went so far to because when they get home from activities, it's right around the time I get home from work. So um she made sure to keep her out of the house, keep Gabby out of the house to give me enough time to be able to get my gym clothes on, get my mind right, turn off work, turn on train, and get out of the house so that it made my prep so much easier. like, and I hate to say that because prep is just like, it's really hard in
Mm-hmm.
a lot of different senses, especially if like, you know, like if you just have like a lot of stressful stuff going on in the whatever season that is. But mine was like weirdly easy, and I think it's really because of Ariel.
Wow, that's awesome. I like to hear that you guys have just like seems like a overall good balance, and you guys care for one another and your goals, but also you guys prioritize Gabby. So that's all, really awesome to hear.
It takes a lot
Yeah.
of work.
Yeah. I bet. Not just like, it's like a lot of mental and everything.
Yeah.
So I want to get into the meat of everything here, which is I want to talk about your last competition.
Yeah.
So first of all, who is your coach?
My coach, so his name is Adam Atkinson. He is he's under the See You Later Leaner is the team name, but
Mhm.
he's under like the Diet Doc umbrella.
Got it.
All that to say that he's probably top 3 most knowledgeable people I've come in contact with
Mhm.
as far as fitness goes.
Yeah.
And he is actually one of the big reasons that I'm even wanting to continue to compete for years to come, which is super cool.
Oh.
And actually, funny story, he was our coach in 2017. And then when
Mhm.
we decided to, hang up the heels, for
Mhm.
lack of a better term, for a period of time, we ended things on good terms, and he was totally understandable, was just like the kind of person that he is. And the fact that, because he wasn't my original coach for this prep, that's this past prep, which we can talk about too if you want to, but
Mhm.
he was my coach for the last like 4 weeks of prep. And I reached out to him again because I was like, man, like we got some stuff going on, but I really want to make it to show, and I know we need to push hard based on where I am. And he was like, okay, well, send me some pictures. We'll get on a phone call. We'll talk things through. Within 24 hours, I had a plan. And within 2 weeks of working with him, I was well below where I needed to be to make weight, as well as looking into future plans, because that's just the kind of person he is. He's like, I don't want you to. He's big on people not being unprepared, so he wants to
Mhm.
give you as much knowledge as possible and explain things as layman, but um, still with enough detail to where,
Mhm.
because that's important too with the client. You have to find a sweet spot if you're a coach in doing that, to be able to communicate so the client, one, believes you, and two, is trusting of what you have to say, that you're going to actually be taking care of them. And that's just like huge about who he is. He wants his team and all the clients that he has underneath him, the folks that he's working with. He's really, really big on loyalty and trust, and he makes sure that every single person that he comes in contact with is very well taken care of.
Yeah. And I am familiar with him because he's pretty well known in the fitness industry. So, and well, the
Yeah.
team in general. So, yeah, that's good to hear that you've had really good experience. Um, and then
So wait, I
maybe
have
I
a
don't.
question for you. Can I
Yes.
question the interviewer?
Oh yeah,
Can I hustle
absolutely.
with the host? Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have any plans to compete in the near future? Near future being 2 to 5 years.
No, I don't.
Clear cut, no.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like a definite no, but it's a no. I don't have any goals or plans.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if you need a coach, I got a guy. Um, I know I gotta hook up on bikinis. I
Hmm.
can make sure you're taken care of.
Okay. Well, thank you. That's good to know. Well, gosh, I wanted to ask a question and I totally forgot, but let's move on to like the next so what was your placement then? Well, first of all, talk to us a little bit about I know what it was. Sorry. Okay. So for those of like I expect a lot of people to be listening that are either like they are they're competitors or looking into competing, they're sort of somewhat familiar with, you know, all this kind of stuff, but also maybe there might be people that completely don't even know much about it. So what I wanted to ask you is your coach, he's online, right? So how has
Yep.
that been? How has that experience been for you?
I prefer a coach that is virtual. Um, I don't have any issues with having someone in person when or as needed. I find that I am very adherent to whatever the plan is, and as long as I have access to communicate a few times a week, I personally do not need someone in person. That being said, I know that a lot of people find security in having a physical hands on you. Basically, I think if
Mhm.
you're first starting out, it's I would highly recommend you get with somebody who can see you in person, who can assess your physique properly. They can look at not just like the photos with the good lighting, but they can see you in the gym. They can see what your facial expressions look like as you're either as you're posing or as you're, just moving around through life. I personally recommend that anybody who is looking to compete for the first time find a coach that is in person and find somebody who you like. If you value somebody in your life and they do bodybuilding, go with that coach or look into that coach. Like anybody that you trust, if they trust that person, I would say they're probably a good fit, or at least can point you in the right direction.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Um, so back to the question that I was asking. So can you also share a little bit about like the competition that you were last in? Where was that? What was it called? And what was your placement?
Yeah. It was called the NPC Mid American Winter Classic. It was in Waukegan, Illinois. And I placed in open lightweight bodybuilding. I placed first in my division or my class.
Wow, awesome. I mean, I already
Thank you.
congratulated you, but again, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
A-
We
And
definitely had to push kind of hard though at the end.
yeah, yeah.
I was a little bit I remember seeing you too where I was like, man, I don't know if I'm gonna be ready. Like, let's see what happens. But then we decided to put the pedal to the floor and get where we needed to be.
And then did you have anyone else or somebody different for posing? For
Yeah, I
like
actually
a
did.
posing
I had
coach?
yeah, so it's her name is her Instagram is at Stasi Lifts. So Stasi STACI
Mm-hmm.
LIFTS like lifts.
Yeah.
She did my posing from the beginning. She helped me and we basically got on calls like it was every week for a bit, but then it was bi-weekly for a little while too. And she was able to look at me on FaceTime and give me those very small tweaks that I think actually ended up probably setting me apart from the person who got second place. There were a lot of bodybuilding is all about illusions, and even as a person who is small in stature, there's little things and little tweaks you can make to look very big next to somebody who may not be as polished with their posing. And actually,
Mm-hmm.
this prep has been the first prep that I prioritize posing consistently, which I think actually shined on stage, not just physically, but I was confident in the poses that I was hitting when they called them out. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm really thankful for Stassi that she invested in me and she gave me an opportunity to learn from her.
Is this the first time that you worked with her?
Yep.
Awesome. How was your prep, this time around, maybe compared to like the last other ones that you've done? Anything that stands out to you differently?
Um, this this one, I guess I would put it in two different ways. This one in general, I would say was like a 7 out of 10. Like there wasn't a point in time where I was completely dying, but it wasn't like a breeze. So um and then as far as like digging a little bit deeper into it, Um, the big difference between this prep and previous preps was I was really focused on like actually focused on being present throughout the entire process, throughout the entire journey. I think in the
Mm-hmm.
past, I've been really focused on the end goal and getting to stage, my placement, wanting to get like just wanting to do well, that I almost removed myself from actually enjoying every single day. As like even during those really hard days. I think that helped in this last one during some of those really hard days where it's like, man, things are starting to hurt. Like I only slept for 3 hours and I gotta do 90 minutes of cardio today. But when you're like so focused on just every single day is an opportunity for me to grow as a person, for me to do something that a lot of people, you know, find that looks crazy. And, it's something that I wanted to do to challenge myself and enjoying every single day, literally up until walking out on stage. I don't know, it almost makes me feel like emotional now that was, and I'm glad it happened later on in my bodybuilding career as I'm like not, you kind of mature in different
Mm-hmm.
areas of your life. And I feel like that's significant maturity in bodybuilding is to really truly like be so grateful for the process every single day.
Yeah, that's awesome. How many weeks was the prep? When did you start? Like how many weeks out?
We did a 15-week prep for this one.
Got it.
Yep. And in the past, actually, in comparison, I've
Mm-hmm.
done a 12-week one where I placed well, but I was really small, and I think I lost a little bit of muscle throughout that process.
Yeah.
We've done a different one where it was about 17 weeks, but I started much higher in weight, so I didn't end up in my weight class that I wanted to be in, which
Mm,
I placed well, but not as well as I would like to. And then the
yeah.
other prep, we did a 26-week, which is a really, really long one. And actually, I prefer those really long ones
Do you
as
really?
opposed to some of those 12 weeks. Yep. Yep.
What do you find better with the long one, with the longer prep?
I find that it's so weirdly, it's easier to be like, okay, let's turn it on, like from heading out of off season, going into prep. Like, let's turn
Mm-hmm.
it on and we're prepared for the next 6 months to do everything we're going to do. And then you can also make very, very small changes because you have so much time to get where you need to be. So
Yeah.
those small changes don't even really seem like you're eating less food or doing more cardio or anything like that up until you're like around week 6, where it's okay, we just kind of been pulling like 50 to 100 calories back, every couple weeks or whatever. But then like when you get real close, yeah, it's going to get hard, but you don't have to have it be hard for 3 months as opposed to like, I only have to have it hard for like 6 months or 6 weeks.
Right. Yeah, that definitely makes sense. I probably would agree with that too. If I like was doing a show, I think that's what. And I was gonna do a show at one point. Actually, I had started prep, and we were expecting to do like a longer one for those same reasons. So I totally understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I personally like it. And then like you're, you know, doing anything for a really long time, it just makes you better at it. So
Mm-hmm.
like it gets a little bit easier. And then you don't
Yeah.
have to, even if you got a little bit out of whack with your off season gains, you take longer, you don't have to suffer so much. And that's why I think I probably like bodybuilding and prep so much because I don't have to suffer all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. How is your food? Like, did you have a meal plan, or did you do macros, or How is that for the prep?
For this recent one,
Mm-hmm.
the coach that I started with, and I won't say names or anything, but I do appreciate her services for the time that we were able to work together. Um, we started with a meal plan, so she gave me uh, protein choices, carb choices, fat choices, veggie choices per meal. and it was mapped out in however many meals I could eat. When I switched to working with Adam, Adam is more macros. I don't even think he gives out meal plans or even like believes in that, but I think he believes more in like education. So learning about macros, we like to say in our house, is like a superpower. When you can look at a plate and know just about how many calories, protein, fats, and carbs are on the plate, is like, it really sets you apart to be able to really control your physique, your intake, everything. With that being said, I personally like macros and probably will only do macros moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like a meal plan that much. I didn't have as much flexibility, and I share my meals a lot. Sure you've seen, and
Mm-hmm.
I like to have flexibility to just be able to enjoy it.
Yeah. Now, I mean, I do see some of the posts that you post, but like, was that consistent throughout your prep where you were kind of like practicing a little bit of that flexible dieting in a way? Because would you personally consider that to be like flexible dieting in a sense? That you typically, how you eat in terms of macros?
Yeah, I would consider it I would consider it a flexible approach to nutrition. Because sometimes
Mhm.
I'm not necessarily on a diet, but I'm wanting to enjoy different foods because one of my favorite hobbies, actually probably my favorite hobby, is cooking. So with that comes like experimenting and being able to create something. And that was
Mhm.
really cool in doing macros and continuing to do macros because like, at a certain point when you get really close to show, you do have to be a little bit more careful with some food choices or food combinations. Um, but for the most part, throughout the entire part of when I was working with Adam and during this off season too, it's been my meals are pretty much consistent with the same like 15 to 20 foods, but they're just in different combos.
Yeah, yeah, totally know what you mean. That's good. Um, how is your actual like intake this time around in terms of like calories and stuff compared to like say other preps? Like did you notice, yourself sticking to higher calories this time around? Did you have to drop really low to um, meet your goals or how did that work?
Compared to previous preps, um, this one I think we had to dig the deepest. Um, I believe, and I tracked everything through my fitness pal. I believe the lowest that my macros got were 100 carbs or 100 grams of carbs, 180 protein, and 30 fat,
Mm.
which is probably, I think I was at around like 1100 calories or so. Um, and we did that from a perspective of we'll go really low calories for 4 to 5 days like that. And then we'll slide in, a refeed meal or a refeed day, depending on what my physique and my weight was looking
Mhm.
like. So we did that for a few weeks, and that was kind of nice because I already knew I was going to be low, and we upped cardio quite a bit too. So I knew I was going to be kind of digging for about 3 weeks, and I was like, all right, yeah, it's cool, whatever. I'll kind of just suffer through it. Um, but when he told me that we're gonna do refeed meals too, it's like a glimmer in my eye, like a single tear went down. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna get
Yeah.
refeed meals.
Yeah, that was
Like
my next question is that if you guys did refeeds at all. So yeah, yeah, it sounds like you did. Did you do them often or frequently or?
probably it would end up being about once a week, but he knew how important it was that I make weight. So Adam is like, if you're willing to do it, then we're gonna push. So we really only put them in. That's the joy of having somebody who's knowledgeable
Mhm.
directing your prep is because he would only put them in when they were truly needed. And I don't need them from a psychological perspective. It was like if I'm looking um I'm looking a little flat, or if I'm looking like extremely depleted, then
Mhm.
he's like, okay, we'll do plus 80 carbs tonight or something. And and it seemed like it was really working, because I kind of hit a stalling point for a little while, for like 2 weeks. And then when we started implementing that, it kind of restarted my metabolism a bit more, where it's like,
Mhm.
oh, okay, we can eat some more food, so we can put this food to use.
That's great. Did he have any specific suggestions as far as like your refeeds, or it was just like added more extra calories / carbs into your day?
Yeah, it was built off of an increase in certain macronutrients. So it was an increase in carbs. It was normally an increase in carbs and fat. And the way that
Okay.
he explained it to me, and I'm no scientist nor a nutritionist, I just really like food and like cooking. The way he explained it to me is that the carbs are going to help refill the muscles, and the fats are going to help facilitate the carbs throughout the body.
Which I was a little bit familiar with that, but I'm glad that you bring that up, because I mean the point of why I'm doing some of these episodes and stuff is to further educate people. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, no problem.
And then how was the cardio this time around? And I'm always curious to see like how different was it from one show to the next, and how much did you have to do, and what kind of cardio did you do
Yeah.
during the prep?
Previous preps, I think my cardio really only got up to maybe 1 hour per session, and normally I do the Stairmaster. This past prep, we got all the way up to 90 minutes, so an hour and a half of cardio, and I think I was doing that for about 3 weeks or so. I would split it up. I would do 45 in the morning fasted and 45 in the evening, like after my workout. And I would normally do the Stairmaster, but the way that we actually tracked cardio, which I had never done before, and I came up with this idea because I was just trying to make things easier for myself. The way that we tracked cardio and activity in general was based on my total step count. So we
Okay.
had a step count of, let's say 20,000 steps per day. And my cardio, each time I did the 45 minutes, was about 5,000 steps. So I could say I'm getting 10,000 in cardio. I have to get at least another 10,000 throughout my day, doing whatever I can, whether it be in the gym or going for walks, even just slowly walking on my treadmill while I'm on a meeting, different things like that. But just, we try to hit a consistent step count throughout, because when you get really, really lean, your energy just goes down. So automatically your NEAT also goes down, which is, for people who may not be aware, it's non-exercise activity thermogenesis. Basically the calories that you're burning while you're not intentionally exercising. So if you think if you have less energy in general, you're going to burn less calories and move less throughout the day. So then that can kind of affect people's fat loss progress, because as you get to a point, you just don't want to move anymore. So I had to be
Right.
really intentional about that step count, which it was kind of like a carrot dangling too. Like, I know I got to get this by the end of the day. So I want to make sure it's not at the end of my cardio, because then I got to do more cardio.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, true. That wouldn't have been fun.
Yeah, no.
Wow. And then share a little bit about like some of your biggest struggles that you noticed with this project.
I think I struggled. What was the hardest part? There wasn't really.
And this could be
I don't
mentally,
know.
this could be anything.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I was like, I felt different this time around. I was really confident with the package that I was bringing. I didn't. I think maybe the main thing was kind of the situation with the coaches, with the transition from my previous coach to Adam, because that just added a little bit of stress in general. And the to go top level at the situation, the previous coach that I was working with, we ended up just having to cut ties because goals weren't the same for the two of us.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll kind of just leave it at that.
Mm-hmm.
But that transitionary period was probably 2 weeks where I was like really unsure of what I was doing. There was even times where I'm like, I guess I'm just not going to do the show anymore. Like I'll just, just call it quits. And I'm really glad that during that transitionary period, it didn't come to that, and things really worked out for the best, because where I'm at now is probably the best place that I've been in as far as like bodybuilding goes. And then
Yeah.
I guess as I think about it too, one thing that was kind of a struggle that I'm going to prioritize this next time around. I got really trash sleep for like a month. And at some point you just don't even think about it anymore. You're just like, whatever, I'm like kind of a zombie. But I'm prioritizing sleep now, and I'm finding that I'm like recovering. I actually recovering so much better, and my food is digesting properly, and like I'm just not having different difficulties. So I would say sleep if I had to choose something. That's
Okay.
like a common issue.
Yeah. And then share a little bit about your show day experience. Like how was that? Like, did you, were you on like calls with your coach? Cause he wasn't there. I know I had asked you previously, but you had told me that he wasn't there. So you were probably having calls with them. And how is that like? Just walk us
Yeah.
through, like, if you could, like a little bit of show day.
Yeah. So one thing I will say, this show that I did, the NPC Mid American Winter Classic, was probably the smoothest run show that I've ever been to, let alone competed in. It was put together really well. It was timely. Communication was great with the athletes. With that, considering that, it made for a very smooth situation between Adam and I as we were trying to nail down the final stages of peak week. So in talking about show day, I almost have to go back like 3 or 4 days, because we were ready early. The top of my weight class is 154.6 pounds or something like that. I got down to 148 pounds about 6 days before. So
Mm-hmm.
we were able to start eating more and more, increasing calories as we went into the show to help fill me out over the course of like 5 days. Which now getting to show day, because we were already full, we were already under the weight cap. Show day was, as far as nutrition goes, it was very light. I just had a little bit of fruit. I had some carbs in the form of rice, whether it be rice cakes or cream of rice or actual jasmine rice.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of meat. I didn't do the whole, I know some people are like, candy and, honey and all this, just, simple sugars. I tried to stay away from that just to kind of keep my blood sugar in check, so I didn't have any type of crash or anything. So I
Mm-hmm.
didn't really utilize any, high sugar, low fiber type foods.
Mm-hmm.
And then I drank water. So if you're a competitor, and I want to say this as respectfully as possible, if
Yeah.
someone is telling if someone is telling you that in order to dry out for show, you do not have to drink water, they are an actual idiot. Respectfully.
Period.
They
Yeah.
do not know what they're talking about. Please send them away and do not do what they say. Your body needs water in order to actually fill out. I'm saying this slow so people listen. In order to actually fill out, you need water, you need sodium, you need carbohydrates.
Yes.
You can't get away with
Yeah.
one of the three.
Yeah. Thank you for emphasizing, because I still hear horror stories on that. So I'm like, oh my God. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I feel bad for people who, like I've watched a couple of YouTubers and other folks that I've seen around, and
Passing out.
yeah, like, and also too, like if you want to have a really enjoyable show day, it's probably good to be slightly hydrated. Like think about think about the stress of being dehydrated. You're trying to process all this extra food that you're probably eating that either you should or you shouldn't be eating. And then you have to
Mhm.
deal with being basically naked in front of 300 strangers. It's like, drink some water, it'll be okay.
Yeah,
Your body
yeah,
will thank you.
yeah.
But yeah, the other aspects of show day that I'll kind of point out too, because the show was so organized and well ran, we knew where we were supposed to be when we were supposed to be there. I had plenty of time to pump up. The stage was incredible, the way that they put it on, like all the decor and even the trophies and stuff, and the things that they did for us backstage with all the food that they provided, and just a space to really enjoy this show. Like it was, I'm really thankful that they put in so much effort to do that.
Yeah, that's great. And then so you what time did you guys go on stage, and then what time was finals for, well, what's it called? I'm blanking out here.
The Mid-American, the Winter Classic,
No,
or oh no, for prejudging.
prejudging, yes.
Yeah. So I was on pretty promptly because bodybuilding normally goes first. So the show started at 10 a.m. I was on stage by 10:15. And they made announcements as well backstage. They're around like 9:45. They're like, all right, start pumping up. I'm like, oh crap, I'm not ready yet. Like we're here. And then finals, I think it started around like 4 o'clock p.m. Or 5 o'clock. I think it was like 4 o'clock. It was a little bit earlier, and I was out of there like trophy, all my posing, my routine. That was all done. We were out on the road back home at 6:30, so it went pretty fast.
Yeah. So what time was check-ins, I guess?
Check-ins were at 8 a.m. I believe, is either 8 or 8:30. But I got there pretty early. And I wanted to kind of just get a feel. That's like when you, for anyone who's done, I would say more than like 3 shows, you kind of have to have like those few moments to yourself. It's really helpful, at least for me, to have those moments to myself where I'm like, I got my headphones in, I made a specific playlist of, songs that mean a lot to me, and bring yourself to be present in there, because you can, if you get a little bit too overwhelmed, you can kind of tell who's up there being a little shaky, not nailing their posing properly, not breathing, because that's really important too.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I like to do. I like to get there as early as I can, because bodybuilding goes on first, and I like to get into a corner, put my hood up, and just listen to different types of music that make me remember why I'm doing.
Awesome. That's what I was gonna ask you, is do you do anything specific before you get on stage? But yeah, sounds like a good
Yeah.
do you normally talk to anyone backstage, or just kind of like keeping to yourself?
Before prejudging, I normally don't. If there's people that I know, like one of our buddies from the gym, he also did the show as well, and so I was talking with him because it was his first show,
Mm-hmm.
and I wanted to make him feel as comfortable as he could, because I'm sure nerves are going crazy like that. Um, but normally I don't like to converse with people, and I'm not rude about it or anything. I just try to stick to myself and get my head in the right spot, because when I get up there, when I get on stage, it's art. It's not, we're not here to play. We're not here to just beat people either. We are here
Mm-hmm.
to showcase all the work that we did for so many weeks. And that even comes back to just enjoying the journey and the process. Like, I put
Yeah.
in so much to be able to do this, that I want to make sure I'm in the best spot possible. And sometimes that requires um, being in isolation.
Yeah. I probably would be the same way. So yeah, totally get it. What about the tanning? It
I was funny. I just said this to somebody the other day. I was talking about my spray tan, And he stops me. He goes, "You had to get a spray tan?" I'm like, "I know, because I'm black, right?" I was like, "No, those lights are extremely bright. They are very bright. And if
Mhm.
you don't get a spray tan, then everyone will know."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So you did have to, I mean, like at what point did you get that done?
What we did with this one, there were two coats that they do. So the first coat is like a base layer, and the second coat is like a touch-up coat. First coat was done the day before the show. I like to get mine done the evening before, just so I don't have to be moving around and in that spray tan for too long. And then the second coat I had mine at 5:30 a.m. before the show, so just a few
Mhm.
hours before the show. Um, I like doing that, and shout out to Protan, because they had the whole area that we were doing our spray tans in. They had it like it was like a little party. It was kind of weird a little bit, but it was pretty cool. Like they had
Really?
music playing, yeah, and they had the big tent set up, and
Yeah.
because if you've never gotten a spray tan for a bodybuilding show, you are completely naked in front of everybody. Doesn't
I
matter.
wondered that.
Yeah, you're
I didn't
everything
know.
is out. Everything is out. And guys, we can wear socks on our private areas if we so choose to. Um, I personally chose not to. I was like, I want all
Daredevil.
my areas. Yeah, well, I'm like, I worked hard for all this. Plus, I got striated glutes, so you better get in those crevices. And so I'm showing them off.
Uh,
But yeah, you're all in a big room. Everybody's naked, getting sprayed down. It's really, really cold. You can't sweat, and it smells like, I like the smell personally, but it smells like a spray tan.
yeah, it's some weird smell, but like I don't know. I get what you're
It's
saying.
Yeah, it's very familiar. Like
Yeah.
if there's a show going on and you're in Walmart and you just so happen to walk past somebody who's getting snacks and you're like, "Oh, spray tan." At
Yeah.
least me.
Yeah. Now I like the way that like newspaper and like random like magazines and stuff smell. So yeah, that was just
Yeah,
weird. Oh my gosh.
gasoline.
Yeah. I was gonna say that. And I was like, I better not, because we're gonna be like, oh, drug addict or something.
No, yeah,
But
we like drugs over here. That's okay. You can cut that.
um and then I forgot to mention a little bit about like peak week. I mean, you mentioned something about like being able to basically like refeed a little bit. What other experiences was peak week like? Did you have to taper back on training at all, or how is that?
Yeah, so peak week for me started the Saturday before the show, so exactly 1 week before. Um, Adam sets you up with specific training days on each day heading into peak week for different reasons. For me, it was so that one, I'm not sore in any particular area that needs to be posed properly, like your legs. And two, to facilitate a lot of the carbohydrates that we're adding in. That also helps with filling out, is being able to train and get some movement in, and not
Mm-hmm.
just cardio movement, but actually pushing blood to the muscles and pushing all that water from the carbs into your muscles to make them look as full as possible. But training, you're correct, absolutely correct in that. Training tapered back. It was mostly just to get a pump, to get blood flow into whatever muscle I was training that day. I trained legs at the beginning of the week, and he said go very heavy on legs, kind of push it for legs, because you have plenty of time to recover, and it's
Mm-hmm.
only going to make your cuts look deeper as we start to fill you out more. Um, then the rest of the week was just, getting a pump. Cardio tapered off slightly throughout the week. I was heading into the week, I think I was doing 60 minutes per day. I think we went 60, 50, 40, 40, 40, 30, 20, I believe, if that's 7.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then actually what I like to do, and what Adam likes to do too for his athletes, at least most of them, I do 10 minutes, a 10-minute walk on the treadmill at the very start of show day. So that was my last well, my last cardio, it wasn't really cardio because I wasn't sweating, but um, it's something that I like to do. I like to have that 10-minute treadmill walk and drink a coffee from the hotel. Is
Mm-hmm.
it that's part of like the process.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then the other parts of peak week was the nutrition that like I said, we increased calories heading in because I was ready early. So if you're deciding to do a show, tell your coach you want to be ready early, like at least a week and a half, 2 weeks early, because then you can start eating uh as you're a lot more depleted heading into peak week. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we got calories. Calories were low. Like I said, it was like, probably 1100
1100.
calories. By
Yeah.
the end of peak week, I think we're up to 3200
Oh,
by like
wow.
the Friday before. Yeah.
Yeah. I bet you were like excited about that.
I wasn't used to eating so much. I was used to eating so often, and you just can't do that if you're eating a lot of calories. So like I
Mm-hmm.
had to kind of reframe my mindset around that where it's like, no, I'm not just eating like rabbit food. Like I can actually eat like lean beef.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, okay, so what was the judges' feedback for your last show?
I unfortunately did not get any feedback. I and that might be the only downside to my show experience for the last one because I wanted feedback. Even though I placed well, even though I got first place in the class, I wanted feedback because I want to continue on with doing this. And
Right.
so unfortunately, I didn't get any email responses. I followed up multiple times and just didn't get any responses back. So what I did was after the third email reply or follow up, I just asked my coach and I was like, "What do you think we need to work on um, if we want to be competitive, potentially go for a pro card next year?" And he's like, "Well, the V taper will help because we're going to try to get you back into lightweight next year. So having a stronger V taper will only make you stand out even more. So
Mm-hmm.
the priority for this off season is to grow my shoulders, grow my lats, and grow my chest, so that the top half of me matches in proportion to what what my legs look like. So my legs come in very, very lean, and I maintain a lot of size in my legs when I do get lean.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's so speaking of what has post show been like, and then I mean, you basically said like what are your, I think to me that kind of explains what you're going to be working on as far as like off season. But what has post show been like from your competition till now?
My reverse diet was very successful. Um, a lot of people can't say that, and I think that comes with maturity in the sport and really having a goal at the end of the goal too.
Mm-hmm.
Post show for me
Having a
has,
plan.
yeah, absolutely. Like I was already thinking about post show 2 weeks before actually getting on stage for the actual show.
Mm-hmm.
Like and I think that if you're looking to compete and you want to make this more than just a one and done type of deal, do that. Look a little bit further past show day. Don't get off stage and then you got your trophy and you're heading to the car and you're like, all right, what now? It's like it's important to think about what you're going to be doing after the goal. Um, and I think that's what facilitated a successful reverse diet for me. I shared on Instagram each week's check-in for a couple of reasons. One, I want to have it as a journal, um, to be able to go back and look and be like, okay, like that's what I look like super shredded. That's what I look like peak off season, like just to have that. And also those metrics too that I'm sharing in the caption. Just to know,
Mm-hmm.
what am I eating and put it into perspective too for people who might not be as informed as far as like, nutrition and training go. It's like you
Yeah.
don't have to eat as much as a 300-pound enhanced bodybuilder. Like this is what I'm doing, this is what I look like, and being totally transparent with it. We went into the reverse diet pretty slowly. I was gaining about 3 pounds per week, which sounds like a lot. But recent post-show experiences were a literal 20 pounds overnight, and not 20 good pounds.
Yeah.
So that's why I say this is very successful, because where I'm at right now is I'm about 25 pounds, about 30 pounds above my actual stage weight, but I don't look like I've never looked like this at this weight. And I think that's truly a testament that recomp, like body recomp, is actually possible.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Now, speaking of that, you're up like 30 pounds. What does that mean as far as like how much more are you looking to push? Like, are you guys into like, does your coach, push on like bulking? Because, that's like a really big theme, especially with guys and off season. So I was curious as to how he approaches that, your coach.
Yeah, we actually set a weight cap for me, because I do have to make a weight class. We don't want to get too far out of range to where it's going to be a really hard prep the next time around. So my weight cap is between 190 and 195, and today I'm 186 still. So we're just about there. Food may go up slightly, but instead of my macros being increased, what I've asked Adam, and if we could have conversations on this, is to implement untracked macro days. So it's a day basically where I have full freedom to eat whatever I want within reason, because I'm an adult and I don't eat like a child. Um, it's just a day that gives me a little bit more flexibility, especially because those two untracked days are like date night with Ariel, and normally the day where Gabby and I go grocery shopping and pretty much spend the whole day together. And it would just be a lot to be in off season, for me personally, to have meals prepped and bringing them with me, eating them in the car in between grocery shopping, and just like it gives my brain a little bit of a break. So, and I'm thinking that's what we might do, is if calories do decide, if he does decide that, hey, we can probably push more calories, I would either ask for more fat, or another untracked day. I'm at 2 right now.
Yeah. Yeah. That would be cool. Hopefully he does agree to that, because that's great. And then did you end up eating anything after your show? Like, did you have like a good meal after?
Yeah, I after the show, I went to, so anybody who's not from the area may not know, but we love Woodman's at our house. Like, we love Woodman so much.
Yeah.
And so the only thing I really wanted after the show was chicken tenders and French fries. That's
From
really it.
Woodman's?
Like, yeah, like the frozen ones. You know how like they over by like the ice cream and stuff, they have like chicken strips.
Yeah.
And yeah, next time you go there, there's like a blue and white bag, and they're the best chicken strips I've ever had, and like the macros are pretty decent on them too. So I'm like, yeah,
Word?
I just kind of wanted those. Yeah, and then some like seasoned crispy fries. Like, that was really it. And then I didn't really want anything sweet either, because you gotta think too, if you're ready for show, like you're lean enough early, you're already eating into the show. So it wasn't even like I was deprived of anything like on show day necessarily. So I really didn't
Right.
have any cravings afterwards. For dessert that night, I made a big bowl of protein oatmeal and put some peanut butter in it and like some chocolate chips and stuff. But that was really what I wanted. I didn't want like cake or ice cream or brownies or none of that stuff. I was just like, because I'm gonna feel like crap anyways, and we're already going into what was going to be off season. So I'm like, I can just have that next week. Like, it's not like it's going to go anywhere.
Okay. Now, do you like sweets? Like, are you a sweet type of person?
I'm much more of a savory type of person. The only sweets I really like, I'm the cookie monster. I love cookies. And then I'll do an ice cream, like a pint of ice cream here and there. But if you got cookies, that's the way to my heart. I'm more of a savory person though. Like I like meat and bread and rice and cheese.
Yeah, yeah. Do you like what kind of ice cream? Like, is it the? It's not like the Halo Top or Enlighten. Is that what you're talking about, or just like normal ice
It's either.
cream?
It's either. So it's funny. I'll do a Halo Top, but I like to put toppings in the Halo Top. So
Yes.
I'll do Halo Top with cereal inside of it. So I'll do
Mhm.
the chocolate caramel brownie, and then I'll put a whole bunch of cocoa pebbles inside of it.
Mm, I haven't tried
Yeah,
that.
yeah. You should try it. Or I'll get like a little it's like a little snack pack of Chips Ahoy cookies, and I'll take half of the snack pack and I'll crush up the cookies. So
Oh, good idea.
it's like a texture thing, yeah. But then
Yeah.
if I get normal ice cream, or I guess like not uh nasty, what people would consider like nasty light ice cream, I like
Hmm.
to do Fairlife. Like
Okay.
and they're even still like a lighter ice cream, but I'll
I'm
do
not aware of
Fairlife, some of
them.
those.
Yeah. Okay.
They're really good. Yeah, they're really good.
Okay, I'm gonna have to try it out.
Yeah. The chocolate, what is it? It's like a chocolate brownie. That one's really good. That's my favorite.
Mm, okay. And then where do you like right now that you're like in off season and stuff like that, where do you besides I know you like to cook and everything like that, but do you ever like to go out to eat somewhere?
Actually very rarely. I'm kind of a I'm like a I'm like a cooking snob. Like I'm kind of a food snob, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
So when I go out to places, I feel like I'm more of a critic than like a customer.
Got
'Cause
it.
I'm like, I can make this so much more enjoyable, like if I cooked it at home. And
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
there are the only foods that I'll actually eat out though are like sub sandwiches, like Subway or like Jersey Mike's or something like that.
Really.
Just because it's too labor intensive at home to cook all that. Plus, it gets kind of expensive if you're like
True.
buying deli meat and like cheeses and
True.
breads and stuff. So
Yeah,
I'll do
yeah,
those.
yeah. Makes sense. I feel you because there's sometimes where I'm like, I can just cook. I completely understand because I can cook, some stuff, and then for half the calories on top of that.
Right, and
But
it still tastes the same. Like I made
yeah, yeah,
have are you familiar with what a chopped cheese is?
no.
So basically, so my mother-in-law's from Jersey, and or around the Jersey area, and
Hmm.
a chopped cheese is like a Jersey thing, and it's basically like you cook what would be like shaved beef, or like a type of like meat. And then as you're cooking it, you basically incorporate like cheese while you're like pretty much at the end of when you're cooking the meat. So it like binds it together, and then it's put on a big sub sandwich. So like I'll have to send it to you because it's a pretty high calorie thing.
Oh, it
So I'm like,
really?
and that's yeah, and that's my thing of trying to figure out how to make, you know, fancy foods a little bit easier in the calorie department. So
Mhm.
instead of doing like a shaved beef, I did an extra lean beef. So it's a little bit less fat. And then I did
Mhm.
like a reduced fat cheese and a fat free cheese instead of two different types of full fat cheeses. And then instead of putting it on a sub bun, I put it on the Joseph's flatbread, like they're like the flatbread pita things, and I
Yeah,
made them into like big tacos instead of like a big sandwich, so I could have more because I,
yeah,
built in less calories,
yeah.
and then I actually was fuller because it's way more protein in what I was having than what would normally be in like that type of sandwich.
And then like that pita bread, some of them, or at least some of the versions of that, have like kind of quite a bit of fiber. So like
Yeah, I
some
think
of
each
those
one
tortilla ones. Yeah.
they had like 3 grams of fiber, and I had four of them. So that plus, about 100 grams of protein, and then actually like I put vegetables in it too because I was like, I kind of should have some peppers and onions and something. So I did
Mm-hmm.
that, and then that fiber, like, yeah, it was really filling and actually tasted really, really good.
Yeah. I feel like I don't know. I feel like we get used to eating like sugar-free stuff and less like fat, like the proteins and stuff like that, we get used to it, so it's like normal to us.
Yeah, you
I
definitely
don't
grow a
know.
palate for
Yeah.
like foods that are they're built to be a little bit more calorie friendly, and it's an acquired palate, but it takes effort as well. Like there's going to be times where, because there's certain foods that are low calorie or calorie conscious, that I'm just like, that's nasty, I'm not eating
Hmm.
that.
Hmm.
um but you kind of find what you like, and you can just, be experimental with it, and don't even think that it's like less calories. Just think about, you're gonna feel so much better after you eat that versus eating something like Taco Bell or McDonald's.
Yeah. And I like that you shared that kind of stuff on your, like your social medias, because a lot of people have this misconception that like, oh, it's just rice and like the basic like bodybuilder food almost. And then they think that that's all they have to eat, and then they don't even want to try, because they don't even realize
Yeah,
like how much variety we can actually add, and how fun and tasty things could be.
yeah, eating healthy should never be miserable. Um, and it's okay. It's okay to season your food too. This is a
Yeah.
small PSAs. You don't have to eat boiled chicken and bland
Yeah.
rice. Like you can season food. You can add, like one thing for me, like for dessert, a normal dessert is like, I don't know, pastries, cookies, cakes, whatever.
Hmm.
I like to do um Greek yogurt, like vanilla Greek yogurt or Faye Greek yogurt,
Yeah.
and I add a little bit of a sugar-free, fat-free pudding packet in it, and
That's what
then
I did
like
too.
a half a scoop of protein. Yeah, so it makes it like a frosting almost. Like it tastes so much better than
Yeah.
something that literally after you eat it, you're like, I didn't even feel like I ate anything.
Yeah. Yeah. And then like I haven't, I mean, it's been a while because I, my colors are pretty high, so I don't have to do like a lot of diet stuff that I once upon a time like have, did. Um,
Yeah,
but like, there's a bunch of tricks like putting zucchini in your oatmeal or cauliflower rice, or like that's obviously things that, people can do once they're dieting and stuff like that. But like I'm not, I don't diet, so I don't I don't have to do that. But uh even like you were saying, that another thing that I like to eat too is sugar-free pudding, just like the actual like already made, you know what I'm talking
yeah,
about, like those are really good, or like the jello, the ones like the little containers that are like sugar-free jello.
yeah,
I like to sometimes buy those and just have that like as a little dessert snack after my meal or something.
yeah. I like to do those too. Actually, what's funny, I'll mix one of those in the Greek yogurt just for like a texture thing,
Oh,
and
I didn't
then
never thought of that.
yeah, and then put some cereal in it.
Hmm. Yeah, I do. You eat cereal like now is like a, part of your meal or something?
I eat cereal like every single day.
Do you?
At least
Yeah,
once a day. I love cereal.
yeah, I do too. And I do sometimes eat it. Like I'll put that in my like quote unquote like, meal plan. And then, I mean, obviously I do macros still, but I usually do like a plan for myself and then base it off of macros. But I sometimes, yeah, I like to do cereal. So
This tells a lot about you. What is your favorite cereal?
uh I don't think I have one, to be honest. There's so
What?
many. No, I don't. I don't have one.
There's no
What
way.
about you? Yeah, no, seriously, I don't have one. I'm just like, what am I sometimes I just go down that, oh, this one looks good, and I'll just get it. But I don't really have a favorite one.
Mine's Cocoa Pebbles and Fruity Pebbles.
Okay,
So
I would say that's definitely one of my top like 5 or 10.
5 or 10. Oh my gosh. You're probably in the cereal aisle for hours.
I am. Oh my gosh. Now quickly before we as we kind of reaching to the end here, but what has been some of your post-show struggles? Like, have you, because I don't know if this is something that's, I mean, I feel like I've heard this in the fitness community, but it's not real popular to think that like a guy can struggle with like body dysmorphia, like women do. Now, is that something that you have had to struggle, you've struggled with at all, or are there any other struggles that you've dealt with?
Yeah, absolutely. When you're lean and that you're lean for a while, um, you have to be really careful. At least me, I have to be really careful about that becoming my identity, and placing my value in the way that I look. Because you just get more attention when you look more impressive, and you can't let that determine your worth. That's something I struggled with as we were slowly going up in weight. I'm slowly seeing myself a little bit softer, less lines in my legs, and I'm still picking myself apart physically, even though I'm not in prep. And the one thing that I found that helped me was not to ignore it and to actually embrace it, and not embrace from a sense of like, yay, I'm getting fat. Like, let's not be on plan or anything, but just like
Right.
be appreciative of all the good things that your body's letting you do, whether it be lift really heavy weights or sleep for 7.5 hours or pee 6 times a day, like whatever it is, like just be really thankful that your body's, you know, your body's working with you. And even if you're having difficulties post show, because I think that's sometimes, maybe when people go a little bit too hard on nutrition after the show, you get a lot of inflammation and, just kind of these feelings of, you know, that like your body is ugly and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that's totally normal. And I think that we all kind of have that opportunity to address those accordingly, like address those feelings accordingly. And what I like to do is I like to set a time limit for me to feel those and to navigate those difficult uh those difficult body image days. I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm looking a little soft. I'm going to give myself 10 minutes to sit with it, try to understand it as much as possible, and reframe into whatever is going to help me. So, one thing that's helped is I've been focusing a lot on my training. So, even though I'm getting bigger, I'm putting a little more body fat on, I'm telling myself that because I'm able to put on this extra weight, it means I can lift these extra weights in the gym. And that's the main goal, is to try to gain as much muscle as possible. So without being able to put on weight, I won't be able to get to the goal. And sometimes you have to, it's early on, it might even be a lie to yourself, but you got to kind of tell yourself as many times as you can so that then you really truly believe it. And it happens with guys too. There isn't really a lot of comfort and space available for men to have these types of conversations. So thank you for providing a platform for me to share my thoughts, because maybe it will help some guys who are heading into a show or coming out of a show where they're just like, man, like I just look like a fat slob, and like, whatever poor negative talk you're telling yourself. Um,
Mm-hmm.
we guys in general, we're expected to be big. And I think
Yeah.
where a lot of the bodybuilding community is heading, especially for the males, there's more of a focus on health and not just being the biggest person on stage. You got to be healthy to be able to be doing this for 10 years or 20 years. And health should be really coming first. And if you want to be successful, you might have to do some drugs, but there's a healthy way to incorporate PEDs if that's what you choose to do. I think focusing on a lot of those foundational pillars of health really makes for a much more successful approach to dealing with some of those emotional challenges that you might have as far as body image goes, for guys specifically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that and for being authentic with what you're sharing as far as that, because I think that it's really important, and I don't think that it's talked about enough. So that's why I wanted to ask you. Speaking of, what are your future goals now? I know you're an off season and you have a plan, and like what are from the feedback from your coach at least, and what you're going to be working on. I know you have a plan to compete in the future. Do you have anything that you're looking forward as far as like the next year or the following year? And are you looking to travel? Is there a specific show you're aiming for? Anything like that?
Yep, absolutely. So the rest of this year, and I should share this piece of information too. I'm still natural. I'm a natural bodybuilder. So for me, the goal is to push my natural genetic ceiling as far as possible. Um, Test it out to see how much size can we put on this frame naturally. And then that off season, so this off season that I'm in will most likely last until February, March of 2024. So another 12 months from where we are right now. And then I would look to compete again. My goal in 2024 is to turn pro in a natural federation, as well as turn pro in the IFBB. And I would like to do that as a natural bodybuilder. And part of what we were just talking about too is a lot of the reason why I want to, why I'm choosing to, stay away from PEDs at the moment. I think there's going to be a shift in bodybuilding toward more like prioritization of health, and to be able to achieve such a high level within bodybuilding and being a natural athlete really sets me up to be more of an ambassador for the sport, in hopes of keeping people as healthy as possible, whether you're natural or not. And that's kind of my goal, I would say, for the next, potential 5 to potentially 10 years, is to at some point coach other athletes, specifically bodybuilders, specifically men. No offense to women, but it takes a very special coach to understand women inside and out. And I would like to become a coach, and a coach that is very similar to Hani Rambon, where he's like, we got to make sure you're healthy first. You can be Mr. Olympia, but if you're not healthy, you won't be around to be Mr. Olympia again. And that's something that, I think I would really love to be able to give back to the bodybuilding and fitness community in the upcoming years.
Yeah. Well, I love your goals, and I do hope from what you mentioned about, like, hopefully there is going to be some changes in the bodybuilding community as far as like the competing world, specifically, because you're just like, we hear so much, like, competitors like passing and people having to take stuff in order to, I mean, that's part of the reason why, like, I was like, I don't want to compete, because I don't want to, I don't feel like I could place with being a natural. So it's just like, why bother? In my opinion, like, I don't have no other reason other than like to go up there and win. And if I'm not going to win, then like, why bother? I'm
totally understandable.
I'm completely happy with my body now and my process, and I'm still continuing to build. So I'm like, why do I need to, what's that saying goes? Why fix something that's not broken, So it's like, that's kind of like my thing, is like, I'm great where I'm at. And if I kind of compare myself, or at least I have goal, like that ambition and that motivation as a pro, even if I'm not, like, in my head, it's like, that's what I'm working towards, regardless if I step on a stage or not. And you see these girls that are on, the stage, and they're like just super intense, and I'm just like, yeah, I couldn't do that. So it's just like, so I either way, like, I do really hope, because it I think not only does it make things healthier for everyone? But also, I mean, it kind of gives a chance for more people to join, as well.
Yeah, and going back to what you were saying, I think that's a really impactful place to be, to where you like what you see in the mirror. You have, you know, habits that are giving back to you, and you're, in theory, you're kind of functioning like a pro without being a pro. Like,
Right.
and I think that's what a lot of people can do. They can learn from you, and that, from that perspective, that you can still do this fitness stuff, and you don't have to compete. You don't have to think that you need to be Miss Bikini Olympia in order to um, be somebody who makes a big impact in fitness. A lot of times, the people who are, the 5 feet around us are the ones we have the biggest impact on. And a lot of those people, if they see you doing something where you're taking care of yourself, 9 times out of 10, they're gonna, either emulate that or reach out for questions or guidance. So what you're doing is awesome, and definitely keep it up, especially with this, being able to give people a space to talk about what they might be going through in fitness, and for others who are interested in fitness to be able to listen and gain some other perspective on different things.
Hmm.
So just want to give you a shout out too.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. And well, you as well. And I really appreciate, you coming onto the show and sharing everything that you shared, just being really open and honest and sharing your experiences. And I definitely, hope that, I mean, I know that you will, but, I'm just wishing you luck on your future, your goals and everything that you basically do. I'm rooting for you all the time, and I look forward to seeing what's next for you, and how you evolve, and as this, even kind of like a career, it sounds like you're wanting to kind of shift in that as more of a career rather than just being an athlete, which is awesome. So
Yeah, potentially, I'm definitely open to the possibility of um being more of a, like, not, I guess you could say, a fitness influencer. Um, it's had such a funky connotation to it, but yeah, being somebody who is just
yeah.
a positive voice,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
helps people get to whatever goal they want to get to. Um, and
Yeah.
I think there's some really, really great people who don't have all the views and platform just yet, who are going to be coming out of the woodwork in fitness to really shed some light on different things that the average person might be ill-informed about, because we only see what's popular, and sometimes a lot of times what's popular is just dangerous. And there's some people who are very logical, who are, I'm expecting to have a very big voice. Actually, Adam is probably going to be one of those people, to have a big voice, and to have to proceed with care for people, because I think that's sometimes what's missing in fitness. People actually caring about each other. And from our gym, like, those are people are my family. Like,
Yeah.
you guys are my family, and